All right, teammates, we are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one podcast on innovative teamwork. Great to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. To my regular listeners, you already know how we do over here, how we get down, giving you nothing but the best. You know that is the number one show on innovative teamwork for a reason, because what we like, whether it's myself speaking or if it's a guest that I have on, we're here to tell you and show you indirectly that whatever you may be going through, the challenges, the things that are coming up in your day to day, you are not going through those things alone. That is what we are all about here. Today, I have Miss Christel Reaves, founder of Connected Classroom. And let me just tell you the story of how these things come about, because as you guys have heard me say on multiple occasions, I'm Mr. ABC, always be connecting. So for you guys who don't know, I do teach at a school named the Center for Creative Education. It's a brand new startup school, and we actually work with a lot of outside aid. I don't want to call them an agency, but just outside people in terms of our professional development. And somebody came in and did a great 3 day, I think it was like a 3 day workshop. Shout out to Bonnie. And I was like hooked. I'm one of those that actually enjoy those professional development days. So, I got an opportunity to talk to Bonnie, and then she linked me up with Christel. And, I've been kind of keeping up with their journey ever since. So all that being said, Miss Christel, welcome to the show.
How are you today? Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to connect with you. And I love that ABCs always being connecting. Awesome. Love it.
Cannot take credit for that. Shout out to Jessica Perez, J Lo, who was actually one of back 4 or 5 years ago now. Geez, almost 5 years
Yeah.
ago when this show was just getting started. J Lo was one of the guests, and she actually has been in the education world too herself.
Okay.
And she was teaching me always be connecting.
That's
And
right.
when it comes to your story, because I do want to make sure we definitely dive into your story, because there's a lot of ground that we have to cover today, because you have seen education from all facets, from K
Yes.
all the way through 12. And I'm a firm believer that those grades are really, really necessary for kids. College, when you go to 18, a lot of decisions can be made in regards to what college you go to, whether you want to go to a trade, or all those decisions are going to be based upon each individual. But that foundation of schooling, you have seen it all the way through. So I think the best way to start off is just what made you fall into the education world specifically, because I've been doing
Awesome.
it for
I
about
love
three
it.
years. And I've learned that no one actually necessarily chooses it per se. We all want to teach, but when we get a little taste of it and it's like, whoa, 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 it's almost like,
Right.
okay, whoa, this is a bigger deal. So I'll give you the microphone to kind of speak on the background
Yeah.
a bit. And
Well, yeah, as one, that's a fantastic question. I talk to teachers every day. I mean, I've been in education for 30 years this month, which just blows my mind. Really, I believe it's the hardest job. You're everything. You have to reach the kids before you can teach them. You have to love on them. You have to be able to connect with coworkers, with the parents, and know the content, which is really powerful. For me, believe it or not, I was a struggling student growing up. I had a lot of health issues, and when I was in high school, it was one of my teachers pulled a conference, and they were concerned I was not going to graduate from high school. Now, I was really more concerned with sports, and I didn't really care about academics that much. And I had a little bit of fear put in me, so I said, "Oh, man, I better get with it." So I graduated with a Regents diploma from New York, so if you're from New York, shout out. But I actually
and
went
why?
yeah, yeah, and I went to community college. I was the first member of my family to go to college, and I had the most amazing professor ever. He looked at me like he believed in me. And I was taking Bio 2 before I took Bio 1, and I got 109 on the first test. And the average was a 68. And this professor spoke to me as if I knew stuff, where I had some educators in high school that looked at me like, you really shouldn't do science. Science isn't for girls. So I believed them.
Hmm.
So when I took this bio class, I ended up with an A, and he actually had me tutoring other students. And this was actually my fourth semester in community college, and I was getting ready to transfer to SUNY Cortland.
Mhm.
And I remember that day just shaking and looking at the application because, we didn't have anything online way back then. You
Right.
had to like bubble it in with a
That's
pencil.
absolutely
And I put in secondary science education. And I was like, wow, I'm actually going to go do what my high school science teacher told me I wasn't capable of doing.
mm,
So I went to SUNY Cortland. I actually got an elementary education and a secondary science education degree. And I was recruited by the school district of Palm Beach County. I bought a car I didn't know how to drive, and I said, I'm going to teach by the beach. See you
mhm.
snow.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's been 26 years since I've moved to Florida.
Right.
So really for me, education found me through a bad experience with
Mhm.
some educators
Right.
and an amazing experience with someone who actually believed that I was capable of it. And that's just fueled my passion all of these years.
Right, and I'm glad you went in there because those 2 years when you graduate from high school are
Mhm.
really, really big years. Myself, I had to deal with the torn ACL my freshman year. I
Oh,
had to
wow.
move back home, and like you, I had to go to community college and kind of hit a fresh start. And it was a lot of the people that were around me, whether they were professors or trainers at the gym I was working at, it actually some single moms that I was working at the gym as well. So the people around me were not letting me quit. They were not letting me quit because I was in a situation where my ACL was torn. It would have been very easy for me to not go back and play.
Yep.
And when you talk about how you were treated in high school, and I mean, that's news to me, the fact that you had built this business and you were someone that almost didn't graduate high school, what would you say pushed you to go to this community college and not just, look, school ain't for me, and go work and all that? What would you say was able, because
Yeah.
just getting in front of that professor, and shout out to that professor,
I
that
know.
science professor that helped you out. What was the motivator for even like pursuing it?
I'd have to say it was a combination of just different individuals in my life because it takes a village to raise a child, right?
Yeah.
So my parents were both entrepreneurs, but they never went to college. And I had this drive inside of me that I couldn't explain. And I think at first it was more of an unhealthy drive because I was going to prove that teacher wrong who told me
Mm,
you should just drop out of science because you're a girl.
right.
So I feel like that was really my initial motivation
Mhm.
and just proving it to myself. But as I've grown, I've really have found a faith in God. And now really I know I'm in my purpose because it's what my creator has called me to do.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Mhm.
So glad you brought that up because it is
Yeah,
in the book where the word says when you train up a child, they will
amen.
grow and they will
Yeah,
do. I don't have it specifically in my, but I know when you train up
yeah,
a child, when they
yeah.
grow up, they will not grow weary of your
They will
lesson.
not stray.
They will not stray. That's it.
They will not stray.
And I'm
Yeah.
bringing this up very intentionally because you said it. Your two parents were entrepreneurs without a college degree. So there was already motivation in the home. And I'm
Yeah,
bringing this up for you listeners as parents that are out there.
right.
It's your responsibility. You can send them to what, I don't care how fancy the school is or whatever you're doing with the what does not matter. They are learning from you in the home. The home is what's going to create the great citizens in this world. So you have to do your part. You have got to do that. And I'm bringing this up because you actually are in a situation where you have, I believe it's two daughters, right?
I have a daughter and a son,
A daughter
actually.
and a son, but
Yeah,
one of
yeah,
them was, a special needs situation. And
yeah,
I'm listening to you, throughout the day because I do my research with the people that come on the show, and I'm like,
yeah,
okay, you built the business, you had to transition into, and like for those of you who don't know, the connected classroom. She's doing all the recording. I was talking to Bonnie about this too. She's doing all the recordings. She's reading all
yeah,
the books. She's coming up with all the curriculum. But then you have a special needs kid that you have to tend to. How are you able to manage that and be able to build all that and then find the time to like
right.
time to even sleep or well, I don't know, I mean, get a nap. My goodness.
Well, sometimes, like, because I'm in year 15 of my business, and we literally are going through all our files and organizing it. And you don't even realize how much you do until you go back and have to organize it.
Yes.
I love John Maxwell, and he always says, if every day you read, every day you write, every day you file, it's
Yeah,
amazing.
that's
It's
5 minutes.
those,
I
yeah,
know
those
that quote.
files,
I
yeah.
know that
And
exactly what you're
yeah,
talking
and it's like if you do that every day, it just grows, right?
about.
So I was a classroom teacher. I was recruited to be a district administrator. I went into low performing schools to turn them around. And both of my parents were very, very hard workers. And I'm not afraid of hard work. And if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. And my husband tells me all the time, Crystal, you need a hobby. And I was like, listen, what I do is my hobby. I just get paid, and I love it. And I
Right.
mean, I'm not kidding you. Every morning I wake up between 3 and 4 in the morning,
Mhm.
and between 3 and 4 in the morning to 6 in the morning before my family wakes up, I can produce so much. But
Right.
it's just learning and practicing over time. You just get better at things. You learn how to streamline, and you go for it. And I think it's about intentionality.
Right.
Clearly define, like, what is it that you want to do, put all the steps together, and don't get distracted.
Right. 1000%.
Yeah.
And so I gotta ask you because I want you to kind of put on your parent hat for a
Yeah.
lot of the listeners out there. And I know a lot of
Mhm.
them personally because of the schools that I have been at, I was a high school football coach at a public school, so I didn't really have to deal with the teachers per se. I was more so dealing with the parents. My
Yeah.
background is more so everywhere I've been, the parents have had a ton of involvement. And I've listened to them and I'm asking the question on their behalf because I do hope to be a parent one day as well. Is when they're frustrated with administration, when they're frustrated with a teacher, when they're frustrated with the way something is happening at school, how do you kind of help them go through these challenges? Because one of the things, and I just actually had this conversation, I believe it was last week, where
Yeah.
the parent wasn't happy with the teacher, and I was telling them, look, you don't have time to experiment. I don't know if I gave the best advice, but I was
I
like, look,
love
you don't
that.
have time to experiment. If you don't like your teacher, you have to
Yeah.
take your daughter out or
Yeah.
alter alternative. Like you
Yeah.
can't like let school administrators
Mhm.
bully you around because you may be the single mother and you may not
Yeah.
have that person. So can you kind of speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I love it. Actually, I can speak to both sides. So, first of
Right.
all, parents need to own their power, right? Because when a parent is involved in education, research shows kids are academically more successful, they're better behaved, they go on to graduate, college and careers, and so forth. So, parents, don't be afraid. And with my teacher hat on, I can't even tell you what percentage. I mean, I can tell you a high percentage of parents, they're afraid they don't come in. If a parent didn't have a good experience in school, they're terrified to talk to a teacher, especially if they think because maybe they didn't go to college and the teacher did, they're terrified to talk to them.
Yeah.
So I'm on the side with my business where I am trying to get educators to be the first one to reach out to parents so
Mhm.
that they're bridging that divide. They're making that connection because when you can have a teacher and a parent come together and they know that whole aspect of that child can reach so much further than they could if there wasn't that communication piece. So
Right.
for the parent who's struggling with this school, who's struggling with the admin, I just say two things: be bold, be brave.
Mm.
Go in there and you talk to them. You don't have to go in a mean way. Say what you mean what you say, and don't say it mean. And ultimately, there's a common ground. Number one, the majority of educators I work with, number one, they want the same thing that the parent wants for that child. They
Mhm.
want them to be successful. So if a parent's not quite sure how to go in and they're upset, say, listen, I know we're on the same page. You want my child to be successful too. And
Mhm.
this is what I'm doing at home, but this is what I'm seeing here. And we need to kind of work together to
Mhm.
help them to thrive.
Yes. And man,
Mhm.
that's a lot there because I just learned something, guys, because I didn't realize that sometimes a lot of times your experience as a kid with school, and I've had a rough one like yours, it dictates how you actually go about thinking about the school system. Because a lot of times, look, we graduate, we're done. I actually remember a teammate of mine reading a post when he graduated college. He breaks his pencil. He's like, I'm done with it. I hate school. I'm never coming back to
Right.
this. Right. But you think about it, when they have kids and they have to deal with that same system, they've gotten so used to just kind of turned off from it, and they're like kind of very intimidated. And I've always felt, because my parents were from Trinidad and Tobago, they, I went to kind of a fancy high school. They had those same things. They were always kind of, the teachers always right, and they were very much in a
Yes.
situation where they gave these teachers too much credit, in my opinion. And that's why I always felt
Yes.
blessed to know, hey, I got to see both sides. I got to see the way public school was. I got to see the way private school was, Catholic school was, liberal arts, big public university, community college, all of that. And I'm really glad that you broke that down for me, because I didn't even
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that your experience is as a
Yeah.
young person is going to dictate how you goes about it as adult. And ultimately, it's reflective in your work, because that's how we
Mm.
actually were able to set this meeting up. Is when I was going through the connected classroom curriculum, I wasn't going through, but Bonnie was going through it. I was realizing, man, you guys are doing a lot of little things to make it so the parents are doing academic work with their kids. Like, for example, is the rock, paper, scissors times two. So many
Yeah.
little activities and so many things that you
Yeah.
guys are doing to engage them in learning and let them know learning is not a punishment, folks. I'm not
Yeah.
sitting here telling you to learn something. I'm not punishing you. So speak to a little bit about how you got the business started, connected,
Oh, okay.
and how you're able to grow with so many
Yeah.
things that are going to help parents along the way.
Yeah. Well, so again, I mentioned that I have this faith, right? So
Mhm,
here I am. I'm working for the chief academic officer of the ninth largest district in the nation.
mhm.
He's
And
telling
this
me
is
he's going
West
to
Palm
be.
Beach, right?
It was in
Yeah,
Palm
this
Beach
is a
County.
bit.
Yeah.
Listen, if you guys haven't been here, understand there's
Mm.
a lot of
Yeah.
moves out here, a lot of big heavy hitters. I mean, there's a reason Trump is out. Listen, it's a big deal. I don't mean to
It's a big deal.
bring
Yeah. I
politics out
mean,
here, but it's a big deal out here. I'll just say.
there's like, yeah, 180,000 students. So I was ready to be a principal and I was engaged, and my fiance lived 2 hours north. And it made sense for him to
Oh
move
yeah,
because I'm in
I'm so
Melbourne. Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
all right. I got you.
And so it made sense for him to move down to West Palm
Mhm,
because I was going to be a principal, but I pray through everything.
mhm,
And so one day this is a crazy story, Aswan, but I was in the bathroom and I was like, okay, God, I give you the big things, but I don't give you the little things. But you know our budget, and I tithe, I do everything the word says, but I need makeup. Can you send me makeup? So I prayed this prayer about makeup.
mhm.
Now, there's more to my history than you probably know. I actually was married once before and I had an abusive husband.
Oh no.
And the Lord just carried me through it. He kept me safe. And
Mm.
so here I am. 2 weeks later, nobody knows about this prayer. And I go to my mailbox and there is an envelope with a Mary Kay compact. Now you're a guy, but Mary Kay's makeup with a catalog.
There's been several reps on the show from
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So here's a Mary Kay catalog with a compact and a letter from a childhood friend who said, I bumped into your mom. She says you're getting remarried. Pick out lipstick, eyeshadow, mascara, all of it. So
Mm.
I'm sitting there going, holy blank, blankety blank, the creator of the universe cares about
Wow.
my lip gloss.
Wow.
Like,
This was the day before you had that prayer that you needed makeup.
this was 2 weeks after my prayer.
2 weeks
2 weeks
after.
after
Okay,
my
okay,
prayer.
okay.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Now, meanwhile, the job I was in was a lot of high stress, and I'm walking back to my townhouse, and I just felt like God was telling me I was to quit my job and move to Melbourne.
Mm.
And I was like, "What?" But if you're a faith-based person, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Right, right, right.
So I called my fiance and I said, I'm moving to Melbourne. And he's like, I'm so happy that you're open to that. And he's a faith based person. So he had already been praying about it and he knew. So I was like, okay. So I went in the next day. I told my boss, I quit. And he's like, what? And I go, listen, God sent me lip gloss. Like I prayed for it and he sent it. And he goes, girl, you got a lot of faith. And I was like, but you can't walk on water unless you get out of the boat.
Hmm.
So I was just praying. I was like, God, show me what you want me to do. So in my heart, I always wanted to have a professional development company. So
Hmm.
technically, my corporation name is Crystal Clear Learning Innovations. And you see how to spell my name. It's not crystal clear. Nobody could get to that address. And we had a program called Connected Classroom. So I rebranded actually to Connected Class and we dropped the room because that domain name was gone.
Mm.
So the company actually goes by Connected Class. But when I quit my job, I just prayed. I said, all right, God, show me what I need to do. And I started getting phone calls from former directors and principals, and they're like, Crystal, can I hire you back? And so we started off, well, me,
Hmm.
started off by doing customized professional development.
Right.
And then as I was working, I mostly work with the private schools in Palm Beach County,
Right.
and they get federal funding through the school district, and they have needs, right? So I always want to grow people, right? I don't want to just rinse and repeat what I do. I want to actually take people from A to Z. And
Right.
so throughout those years, we've developed 18 different products and services based on those needs. Everything from learning link videos, which are 2 to 6 minutes in length. So they teach a game, a strategy, or activity that's standards based for the classroom teacher. And the teacher can push that home to the parents so they can create that partnership. And
Mm.
there are really fun ways for parents to engage with them. And,
Right.
really what I wanted to share with you is as a former classroom teacher, I can't even tell you the countless times parents would come in and they would say, my child isn't good at math because I'm not good at math. But
Hmm.
you never ever had a parent say, my child's illiterate because I'm illiterate, right? So there's like this like okay thing about not being able to do math. So when you look at our learning link instructional videos for math, we actually train the parents on how to do the math, but in a way that's really fun and it builds their confidence too. So
Right.
really, we're on a mission not only to help the teachers, but to strengthen the families because they're communicating with their children more. And also, we're helping parents with academics. And I had a parent send me a message, said, Crystal, after I played your fraction games, I actually understood fractions. I wish I knew this when I was a kid. So really, my business just started through prayer and it has just grown, grown, grown. We're in two states now, Texas and Florida. And we have a plan for a national growth, scaling it to get in everyone's email inbox with game strategies and activities.
Yes, and learning with the kids, I think, is just so much more of an effective strategy. There's plenty of times where me and my mother would be at the store, and she was one of
Yes.
those where she's only buying stuff that's on sale. So
Okay.
30% discount, 20% discount, and
Yep.
there'd be math opportunities there to say, okay, when it's
Mhm.
20%, you multiply it by the original price, and then you're learning those things. So it
Yeah.
engages you so much more, so you
Yeah.
know you're gonna need it outside the classroom. And
Absolutely.
I do have to, I'm gonna make sure what you said doesn't just get brushed over because I used to be a boxing trainer and there was a lot of
Okay.
ladies who would come in that were living through domestic abuse situations
Yeah.
and had the
Yeah.
resiliency and strength and all that. So kudos to you for fighting through
Thank
that
you.
resiliency. That's important to note as well because
Yeah.
if you are going through it out there, understand, like
Mhm.
I said to start off every show, you're not going through these things alone. You really are not. And
Right.
as
Right.
you look back now and you've built this great
Mhm.
company, what if there's like business owners listening or any administrators out there
Yeah.
listening, what's the result that they're getting
Mhm.
after the workshops? What's sort of the result that you're able to, I don't like to use the word guarantee, but what is the thing that you're
Mhm.
making sure that they know you're going to get this when they decide to collaborate with you?
Mhm. All right, so like with my clients, so I have a very high retention rate. I mean, it's like 97%.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the reason why, yeah, the reason why is because we connect, we have relationships.
Right.
And to maintain that level for 15 years, it's because they know we always show up. We always deliver more than we say that we're going to deliver.
Mhm.
We're honest, we're truthful, And, sometimes with clients, depending on your business, with mine, we analyze data and we
Mhm.
don't sugarcoat it. We're like, this is the area that we need to work on. So let's, roll up our sleeves. Let's do it. We do it with them.
Mhm.
You met Bonnie.
I did.
She's
Yes, I did.
such a blessing. Let me tell you, she worked at one of the schools I supported. I
Mhm.
stalked her for years. I was like, when are you ready to leave and join? Because,
Mhm.
she goes to the next level every time. And so as a business owner, it's always like know your clients. Don't just talk to them, but listen to them
Mhm.
and hear their needs and then try to make it easy. This last year, we gave out this little flyer at a conference called, Administrators Too Much to Do. We got your back.
Yeah.
And it's true, we know because the majority of the people on our team are educators. They know how hard the job is.
Right.
And so we're like, here's this. This is gonna make your life easier. This is gonna make your life easier. Okay, what else do you need? Let me find it for you. So it's
Mhm.
relationship, it's knowing who your client is, listening to them, and then over deliver every single time.
Now, you already kind of mentioned this earlier in terms, I didn't even realize you were in Texas as well, but what would you say is
Mhm.
the next phase and where you want the company to be in the next 10 to 15 years? So like how do you
Oh,
see it?
fantastic. Well, first I want to be national and then I want to be global.
But what were the
So,
steps to be able to do that? Is it just reaching out to a specific type of school, or is it a public like really what I'm trying to ask is there a
yeah.
criteria of school that you're gonna want to work with
Mhm.
because you've seen the system and you've seen
Yeah.
people who are
Yeah.
around that really you don't want to
Mm.
have kids. Like there's so many
Yeah.
kids out there that are around them, and you're like, I
Well,
gotta be cringing.
that is a fantastic question. And you can't just spray and pray and just hope that it's gonna, catch on. We've done a lot of work with private schools. We've done work with public schools as well. My heart is really to focus in on our learning link because in the last few years since the pandemic, every educator I work with says, Crystal, you don't even understand. Like the kids right now, their social emotional aspect is really struggling and they're having a hard time teaching them because of everything that's going on. And
Mhm.
in a world where everybody has so many devices in their hand and we're so connected, we're really not connected. And so, like, you look at the tragedy that just happened in Georgia 2 days ago.
Unbelievable.
You have families that are sitting in the same room but ignoring each other. So that's where that learning link video, if it's teaching a teacher a creative way to teach something in literacy or in math to engage students to get them excited about it and they're able to push that home so the parent then knows, okay, this is what my child is doing in school and this is a way that I can support them. All of our games, we have 150 of them, they use things that you can find around the house, like dominoes, dice, cards. We even use things on the cell phone like Snapchat and making silly filters for reading. So we
Mhm.
can use technology, but every single one of those activities and games make parents and children look at each other in the eyes and to talk. And you know what is so powerful is that in only 10 minutes of play 3 times a week, we've seen 37% learning gains in only 4 weeks with basic facts. We
Right.
do a Getting My Facts Straight challenge, and it's just that little bit of one on one time that's so focused
Mhm.
that kids make these huge academic gains. But then it's more than that. They feel loved, they feel connected. And, the world right now with inflation so high, if it's a double parent family, both of them are working. If it's a
Right.
single family, single parent family, sometimes people have more than one job to make ends meet and they're exhausted. So then it's like, here, take this device, play with it because mommy's tired.
Right.
But, and that's okay because I have days like that. I live a very busy life. So there are some moments I'm like, here's the device. I
Right.
need to do the laundry,
Right. 'Cause you can't get
or pull the,
you can't get
yeah,
too dependent on it because I've seen that as well,
yeah.
where they just let it. they let it take
It's
over
true.
the raising of
Yeah,
the kid, and they become so
absolutely.
attached to that technological device that
Mhm.
sometimes parents need that wake up call. Hey, don't let it get to
Yeah,
the point where they're
yeah,
disattached to it because it
yeah.
has nasty results to it.
Yeah, and it's like just spend 10 minutes focused
Right,
with them and start to see what happens with their behavior, what happens with their academics. You're
right.
going to get so much more out of your child that way and just the love that you're going to feel in the family.
Right. Now, would the goal be to, I guess, would it be to expand beyond Texas? And, if anyone's listening out there, what would be the best way
So
to reach out to you if they want to help you?
in this last year, what we did was we were CETA Emerging Partners. They selected 5 companies in the nation. CETA is the State Education Directors Association. So we're working with different state representatives to try to get our products into those locations.
Mhm.
But I've actually bootstrapped this company with no money, and I don't like other than the money that we have done through products and services. I'm trying to get all of the infrastructure in place
Mhm.
to scale it where I'm debt free. And so we're debt free, everything is paid for. So sometimes that takes it a little bit longer.
Right.
And, I question myself, is this the route to go or should I just go get investors? But so far, it's moving at a pace in which, we're still able to have a high retention rate. We're still able to pick up new clients. So that is good. Another thing is that we took part in FETC, which is the Future of Educational Technology Conference, and we got second place for Pitch Fest. So
Oh,
really, yeah, which is pretty exciting.
that's awesome.
Uh, yeah. And so we really, what we're doing is we're going to different conferences
Mhm.
and we're making connections. Now, I can say this honestly, for 15 years, I just gained clients through word of mouth. I really have done very little with marketing, and that's something I'm just learning now and I'm putting into place.
Yeah.
So, like, for example, with Texas, one of my principals here moved over there and took our services with her. Then another one showed up to a conference that we just went to a few months ago and brought our services to her school. She moved to another school and now she's bringing us there too. So really, I think it's the connection piece with the people that you make. And I think the reason why she selected us is the conference that we were at. Every session she went into, they kept talking about connected class. So she just came over and she was like, sold, come out. So, what is my growth plan? Well, right now I need to get a CRM up and running and real marketing messages.
Yeah. Well,
And I think it could be
I
private or
face that
public.
same challenge, and I think it's a challenge
Yes,
for all educators because we're so
yes.
willing as entrepreneurs, we're willing to go out and do the work, but the
Mhm.
steps are being taken in the right way. Word of
Yeah,
mouth first, retention, then all the social media and the marketing and all that stuff, because you
yeah,
never know when it's said, who knows, social media may not be the best way to market. So
yeah,
you got to get your
yeah,
core right, the value of word of mouth, make sure your
yeah.
service is actually of
Mhm.
quality. So I do
Right.
want to be very respectful of your time. Is there a way for people to reach out to you specifically? What's the best way if they want to get in touch
Yeah.
or what you're doing?
Absolutely. So if you want to get in touch with us, go to connectedclass.com and you will see all our contact information there. You can fill out an inquiry form, give us your information, we'll reach out to you. You can also look us up on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram. Again, I'm Christel Reaves. You can find me on LinkedIn as well and just reach out. We love people. We love educators. We love parents, and really, we're on a mission to just build that communication between the classroom and the home environment in a fun and exciting way.
Yes, and all of that will be included in the show notes as well. So, Crystal, the final thing I do to close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. You
Yeah,
are the younger version of yourself. You're going through it in high
yeah,
school. You're not fitting in. The teachers are like, look, you're a woman, you're a girl. You're not going to be good at science. Go do some nursing, go do cooking, or do some women do, right? You're not no entrepreneur. That's a man thing. So pretend that
yeah.
that teenage version of
Oh,
has come into the Zoom room. Give that young lady some words of encouragement, and we will officially close.
Yes, awesome. So I would say to her, be bold, be brave. Don't let anyone speak anything into you that's negative. You wouldn't let them throw their trash in your living room. Don't let them dump it into your mind. You persevere. You fall down, you get back up because you know what it is? You're always going to have challenges. And if you don't learn to pick yourself back up, nobody else is. So be bold and be brave and do it afraid.
So I mean, you saw me looking now. I'm actually getting goosebumps just hearing that, man.
Nice.
That touches my heart, and I'm sure it touches your heart
Yeah.
as well as listeners, because
Yeah.
it is possible for you guys to go out and do things, and like she just said, do not let other people's pessimism and other people's limited ways of thinking
Yeah.
getting into your own mind. You,
Yeah.
your own person, just go out and do it. So,
Yeah.
all that being said, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.